Filming a video. Filming a video. I'm about to set off these fireworks. I'm Nathan Stufflebean. Welcome to Brookfield. Happy 4th of July, and welcome to That Stuff Matters.
That stuff matters, carved in stone. Every stitch and every tone. Living, loving, grinding through all the nerdy things we do.
This week's episode is brought to you by our friends at Grand River Welding Institute and Pigskin Pub and Pizza, two local organizations that are definitely making an impact, and they help in many aspects of the community. We're so thankful they're willing to sponsor the podcast, and make sure you check out both organizations here in Brookfield, Missouri.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to That Stuff Matters. A little different intro today before our video. We're going mobile. We're outside. Kind of take you a walk around some of the stuff we've been doing. Right here, you can see, look at this beauty. Welcome to, I'm gonna get it in frame. Welcome to downtown Brookfield, a great place to land. We love it here. We like to call it home. Oh, people driving by. You gotta wave in a small town. That's what you do, you wave at everybody. Right here, this right here is going to be a cornhole section. So they just sprayed fresh hydro seed on there. These guys are great to work with, and I will tag them in the video, but they have been awesome. And this is going to be a cornhole section right here. There's going to be outdoor lighting, really cool. We come down here, somebody's bumping. I like it. Get a wave at them. How you guys doing? They're like, who the is that? Anyway, we got these planters right here. These are going to be flowers throughout the park. We're going to have a walkway up to the tree with some landscaping. So that's going to be fun. This end down here is kind of the outdoor hangout section, and you can see we got the corner tree, we've got the canvas shading. We're adding some more shade above us, and then you can come over here in the park. You can kind of sit down and just enjoy it. Watch people drive by. We can watch a parade. We're gonna get a picnic table out here probably, so you can eat some food from all of the local restaurants. Brookfield is so lucky that we have these local restaurants like Pigskin and Raspberries, a Cup of Joy. There's places to hang out down here. There's so much going on in downtown Brookfield, you know, and it's frustrating to me because everybody's always like so negative on people that haven't been to Brookfield in a long time. And don't get me wrong, there's a ton of things that we need to work on around here. Things that buildings that need work, and I mean, it needs some work, but things are happening, guys. Lots of good stuff. And I'm not big on, you can't call every single town a historic town, but it is historic to the people that are here. And there's some great stuff happening in Brookfield, and I'm excited about it. Right now, I'm looking down the street, and I can see the Vine, Raspberries, and man, they have done some beautiful work on their little corner of the world down there. They've added more barrels and string lights for their outdoor parties. They had another one last night. It's just amazing. It is 4th of July, and you guys are probably like, why are you in a hoodie? That's just me. I wear a hoodie all the time. I'm pretty much always managing my cold. And across the street, though, from Raspberries, you got Cup of Joy, and man, they're doing amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. The remodel that is occurring on their building is beautiful. They took a building that had collapsed, and they're just rebuilding it and making Main Street beautiful. So if you haven't been through Brookfield in a while, come through. So many cool things are happening, and that's what it takes. We talk about Brookfield like it's some living organism, and it's not. It only through the people that are here that make that difference. So the only way we can improve it is if everybody chips in, everybody works to make their little corner of the world better. And you do that through volunteering and joining committees and being a part of the groups that are important to you. You can't be on the committee for everything, but man, don't complain if you haven't showed up to the meetings. That's frustrating to me. But I wanted to take you on a little walk outside here, show you some of that stuff. Now we're going to head on back inside to the studio and have our normal intro talk.
Woo! All right, we made it back inside. Hope you enjoyed that little walk through the park. Kind of a fun vibe atmosphere, I hope, is what people will find that to be, and places they can hang out. I can't wait for the first parade. People can sit out there and they can watch everything go by. Um, I'm looking forward to people just grabbing lunch at one of our fantastic local joints and maybe sitting out in the shade and enjoying that. Hopefully, just more useful. And then, kind of highlights downtown Brookfield and that it is a great place to land. And um, we're always fighting the negativity around here. So that's what I hope that can start to inspire. But I want to thank a few people. I want to thank my wife. Nothing gets done around here without her. She does far more work than I do. I can attest to that. And every time we would kind of get behind the gun and we weren't sure if we were doing things, the best way or if it was going to get done at all, here she'd come. She'd come in clutch and she would organize it and make sure we got it done. I want to thank my kids. Man, it's so cool when you have older kids because they can jump in and join you and help. So Haven and Xander were crucial in getting everything painted and moving bricks and stones. And Xander helped pour concrete and couldn't have done it without him. Kaylee and Danny, they came home at the just the right time, and I'm not sure we would have gotten as far as we did without their help. Danny has a background in a lot of that stuff, so when I would tell him, "Here's what I want," it was like I didn't have to, you know, do anything. I just said, "Here's what I want to do," and he was just off and running with it. So, thank you so much to them. Um, just so many volunteers that helped. One for sure is my dad, Rob Cat. Um, it's like you ask him anything and he knows an answer to it. And it's I hope that as I get older, I am that for my kids. But whether it was dirt work or fixing masonry and the bricks and painting and tools and the dirt work and pouring concrete and electricity, being an electrician and um, man, the park would not have happened without him. He was a consistent every day, whatever we needed, make sure we had the right equipment, the right tools, and the things that we weren't capable of ourselves. Here he was. So thank you so much. A lot of stuff going on in downtown. And when I say downtown, I don't mean just our section of the street down here. You go all the way down Main Street, and there's projects everywhere that are happening, and it's slowly, improving and changing and becoming, you know, better and better. And that's what I really mean by that. I think Niall in one of our past episodes really drove home that they is us. And so often we are like, oh, good job, Brookfield, or why doesn't Brookfield do this, or Brookfield needs this, or that goes on. And there is no they, they is us. It is up to us. And while no one person can change the look or the vibe or the feeling or the culture of the entire area, you can all join in and kind of improve your one little section, the important section to you, whatever that is, and just donate your time. And I know that sucks a lot of times and it's hard and it's it's taking away from things that you want to do and that's never fun, but if we want to improve, that's how it happens. It's us, we, all of us, whatever it is. So keep that in mind. No one's coming to save us. We have to do that. And it's been encouraging to see all the fun stuff. I will tell you that park ate up most of my time for several weeks. Every day there was some little project that needed to happen to move on to the next one. And it definitely put me behind schedule in here in the shop and the things that we have going on. So promise you, I am putting in hours and trying to catch up and get work done. So hang with me there. I want to thank all the customers that we have that come here and trust us with the projects. It means the world. It's just a small business we have here, and you're just helping like a local family's dream. So thank you. Um, Talking more local, I don't want this show to be just about Brookfield. I just think that most of the people who have been willing to talk so far are the people that are, you know, within my vicinity and closer to me. And like I said, we have a lot planned and a lot of people lined up. But a couple local things we went to this last week was we went to the carnival in Marceline, and they always do such a good job. And I want to thank them for putting that on. And I think the um, fire department plays a big part in that, a big role in that. And every year it's just like here's the bingo and the games and the rides, and they're serving the cheeseburgers, and you got Rotary doing the funnel cakes, and John Thomas is helping with the audio, and they got bands playing. It's very nice to have. It's cool to see the young kids' eyes light up and they glow, and the excitement of the rides. And it's a fun experience to have as a kid and with your family. So thank you to them for putting that on. Last night, July 3rd, we went to Meadville. Meadville put on a heck of a fireworks show, and I'm going to pop that up so you can see some of the beautiful fireworks. Um, they did a great job. It was at the ball field. There were cars parked everywhere around town, and there were kids running around playing and throwing the ball. And we were able to just pull up and sit in the back of the truck and enjoy a lengthy fireworks display. So, I mean, that's just a good memory. I always think of the movie The Sandlot, when they have the night game because of the fireworks that are going off, and they ride the rides at the carnival, and they all get sick on the chewing tobacco. But those are great memories as a kid, and um, I think everywhere you are, those can be great memories. But in small towns specifically, because these local organizations are putting in a lot of time and effort to make these things happen. The money that's required, it's a lot of work, and just by showing up and clapping and saying thank you, that means a lot to the organizations, and they know that their efforts are valued. And I want to say thank you to all the local stuff we have going on. Um, what else? I mean, the um, local groups here in town, they just had the summer festival, so that was really cool to see. The 3-on-3 basketball tournament keeps growing. There were more and more kids and teams. I wasn't able to be a part of that this year because I was scheduled to work somewhere else. But they had the truck show and the car show and the baby show, and they had vendors in the park and the concert, of course, and that's a ton of work. And I know that that's a couple organizations that do separate things that help put that together. Um, but it's not cheap, and I know that. Um, and I'm not on the chamber, so I'm just hearsay. But I know that costs, probably 20,000 plus to get that concert here every year. Um, so I mean, again, being a part of these things and the local committees and organizations and whatever it is, it matters. That stuff matters. Okay, if you want to keep creating great memories for your community, you got to be active. And again, I am not saying you got to be active in every single organization and everything that goes on, but try to pick one thing and show up to as many meetings as you can. And you just don't understand how important an hour of your time can be. So I hope to get more and more local stuff on here, and you guys have been messaging me with some of the local people you'd like to see. But certainly, if there are some people from outside of the area, some of our friends over in Marceline or Meadville or Linneus or down in Minden or Buckland, um, those are just some of the locals right around here. But you go on over Chillicothe. There's just so many cool things in the area, and I hope we can help cover some of those. Moving on, this week's guest, saying bye to my friends. They're outside. Hope they have a happy 4th of July. Um, moving on to this week's guest. This person played a role in That Stuff Matters coming to be because I had wanted to do a podcast, but kept thinking it wasn't the time, it wasn't right. I didn't have what I needed. I didn't have the equipment, the studio, the lighting wasn't perfect, blah, 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 blah. Shut up. You're never going to get to 100 episodes if you don't do one. And this person I had listened to, I had worked with in the past, but I hadn't listened in a while. And I just was on Spotify and checked his channel. And the guy was up to like 60 some episodes at the time. So I dove back in and was listening. And it's a unique podcast where it's kind of an introspective. And he'll tell you that it's really meant for his kids and him on his deathbed. He's very raw and talks about things in his life and the good and the bad and the struggles and the fun things that he'll go do and successes. And I just said, "Hey man, I want you to know I'm going to start the podcast back up." And I just been listening, and you were a part of that. So we'd kind of started talking back and forth about all things podcasting. And at one point, he mentioned that we should just do a collab. So we started on mine. I hope to get to his studio so we can do an episode there. It did take us a while to kind of plan it out, to get him here when it didn't interfere with his schedule because he's got two jobs. And it was just cool to have him come in. Originally from California, moved to Marceline, um, local person, and it's just fun to hear other people's stories. That's what we're here all about. The characters in the area and the people that um, I think of when I think of famous people. You know what I mean? It's not the people on TV or the social media influencers you see, but those people right there around your community and the ones making a difference. Now, Nate would be the first to say it is not his intention to um, like be this positive enforcement role with his podcast. But I hoped and I was trying to get through to him that I think you can be that without even that being your intention. If you just are willing to be open and real and explain things that go on in your life, people can relate to that. And then all of a sudden, man, it doesn't feel so bad. It doesn't feel like these struggles in my life are just my own. So it's really cool. I hope you guys check him out on all the platforms. You can just search up Babyfat. But without further ado, this week's guest, and he will tell you all the aliases and the names he has for himself, but Mr. Nate Salgado with Babyfat.
Late nights glow in the haze of my mind. Family ties pull, but I'm hard to find. Stories unravel like threads in the dark. Chasing the spark, but I miss the mark. Echoes of baby fat calling my name. Life spins wild, but it's all the same. Surfing the tide of love and regret. A voice in the void I'll never forget.
Let's do it.
All right. Welcome to That Stuff Matters, episode 9. And I have one of my favorite podcasters here today. Unbelievable, really. And I'm going to tell you the story. But first, let me introduce Mr. Nate Salgado.
What's up, guys?
Do the spiel. Do the whole, everything you say, your nicknames, every episode. You're like,
Gosh, I need to pull up my notes for that because I am the Van Gogh of podcasting, the Hispanic Express, the Brown Noise, Nate the Great, Nader, Sal, DJ Salsa, the Mexican Water Moccasin. And I run out right there. And so I always have it off to the side where I can kind of cheat sheet. And once I get to video podcasting, you'll be able to see my eyes. And my brothers have already busted me for not having it memorized. But I am the man of
I put you
many,
on the spot.
a man of many self-given nicknames.
Every week I hear that and I'm impressed. But now I know you have the
Yeah, I know.
notes.
Now I've blown up the spot, but yeah, uh, I am Nate the Great.
Yeah. Well, it's really fun for me because again, I tried a podcast in the past. We didn't have a bunch of retention. It was mainly fitness focused,
Mhm.
and
I listened.
well, thank you, thank you.
Forging
But
you.
I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't have all the gear figured out, which I
Right.
still don't. Which we've been talking before this.
Yeah, that's a process.
But it didn't work out. But I always wanted to keep rolling with the podcast. Meanwhile, you were just like churning out episodes. And there was a spell where I hadn't checked in, and I go back and you're like 50 episodes deep. And I'm thinking, God, I'm never going to get to 100 if I don't do one.
Right. Right. And that's what it was for me. Here it was 15 years of thinking, man, I should start one of these podcasts because it, I have turned off the TV unless it's like something that hits pop culture that you just got to watch. Everybody's
Mhm.
talking about it, or maybe it's just something that's really up my alley that piques my interest. Yeah, I'll watch it. Like I just watched Squid Games
Oh,
season 3. So I'll watch television from time to time, but really for the past 15 years, the majority of my entertainment has come through podcasts. I mean, it started with Rogan,
mhm.
the king right now, but yeah. And you listen to him, and if you go back, he's a few thousand episodes deep, whatever he is right now. He's always telling his guests, "You should start a podcast." And you have this parasocial relationship with the podcasters that you listen to and the worlds that you get involved with. And so maybe that was the thing echoing in the back of my mind, you should start a podcast. And
Well,
it wasn't out of the realm of my capacity. Here I go. I'm just blah, blah, blah. I can just blabber. That's like one of the few things I can do.
yep.
I wish I wouldn't have drug my
It's why
feet
you're a
so long.
salesperson too.
It's one of the, when left to my devices, one of the things I can do is talk. And yeah, that's turns out that's what sales is. A lot of talking.
So I wanted to know, like, how did you come up with Baby Fat? The name of the
So
podcast is Baby Fat.
yeah, baby fat, and that's a great question because I had been going back and forth for a couple years, like about starting, and really the hardest part was what am I going to call it? And I had different names. I was trying to think of these past few days, what was I going to call it before? What was this? And I thought of like one that I thought might be a good name. It was like Broken Branches with Nate Salgado because I like the idea of a tree. I've always
Yeah.
loved the imagery of a tree. I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of sub meanings there too,
Yeah,
probably with like family
exactly.
and life.
That one
And
just hit me just like one day I was working on the program and I was on the treadmill where I get a lot of my good ideas because you're getting that mental clarity just from exercise and get that exercising all those demons out. And it hit me one day before I had obviously started the podcast. It was like baby fat. And that the word fat has always been crippling to me. It's just been such a sharp word. And so when I thought, man, I could call my podcast Baby Fat because I truly did. And if you listen to episode 1 or 2, whenever I get into it, my mom for way too many years was like, "Oh, honey, you're not fat. You're just it's just your baby fat." Whatever that. It was like, no, I'm chubby, to say the least. My diet consists of ramen noodles and macaroni and cheese. Like it's no question what's going on here, but
but side question, why are the cheapest foods so tasty?
I know. I mean, and
That's
then now
ridiculous.
I love to cook, and we cook most of our meals, and it's cheaper to go to fast food anymore, and eat that junk. But and it's hard to not,
Yeah.
especially in this economy. You know what I mean? But
Sorry, we'll get into fitness, but keep going.
but yeah, so that word fat was always like really sharp to me, and I just you know hated it. So I wanted to empower that, take that back.
Mhm.
That's my word now. This is my program. This is baby fat. And I still get the question, like, okay, what is baby fat? It's like, buddy, I'm trying to figure that out. We're 78 episodes deep. The definition has changed from week to week, but essentially, the idea for me is I've been holding on to all this excess nonsense, whether that be physical fat, literally. As you see my little, if you listen, you'll get all my little quirks. I can't help it um, because I'm also like self editing in my head. As you know,
Mhm.
as you get into these, it's like the less cleanup you have to do. So being a podcast producer and also on the podcast at the same time. Now I can't even remember what I was getting ready to say,
Hey,
but
came up with baby fat in the name.
yeah. So the definition that's ever evolving. So it's like I needed to get rid of literal baby fat because my partner was pregnant with our fourth child. We just had him. He was about 8 months old when I started the podcast, and every one of my kids, I gained like 50 pounds of sympathy weight. And I would go through this. I'm like Oprah. I go up and down, up and down constantly. And it was always like you could set your watch to it. 2 years after the baby was there, here I am, 50 pounds overweight or where I want to be, every time. And so here I am with this excess baby fat that I needed to start getting back on the horse and working out. And then I was probably on the treadmill, probably just got back into it, where I had worked out and then finishing with my cardio. And I was like, I get in these manic waves where I can just really accomplish a lot of things in a short amount of time. And with those manic waves, of course, you have the where you're not getting anything done, the ebbs and flows of that. But while I was on top of the wave, thinking, okay, here I am, I'm going to get back to working out. It's like I should start a podcast. And the title Baby Fat must have just popped into my head like out of the ether, like all ideas do. And when I think I stopped the treadmill and either made a note like I do physically or in my phone or something. It was like, finally, at least now, finally, I have what I could call a podcast. And that was really the first step for me as far as starting it. Now, what really like, now I have to do it. I have a buddy, Jan, shout out to the Power Five and Jonathan. He doesn't even like podcasts. I've been trying for a year. Like I used to be a huge Rogan head. So that's how I started. I have a son named Rogan, and don't name your son Rogan because anytime you tell him no, it's gonna sound like Joe. Like I'm like no Rogan, and it just sounds like I'm saying Joe Rogan all the time. And anybody in public now, I'm sure it's a similar. But yeah, so here I have this friend doesn't even listen to podcasts. And I've been trying for years, like, oh man, you ought to check this out. Like, or here's this funny comedian, or oh, Rogan had this guest on, it blew my mind, and he couldn't be bothered to even listen to a podcast. And it's like, respect, all right, that's my medium, I guess. It's not for everybody. Just like my podcast. It's not for everybody. What I say is it's for my kids and for me on my deathbed. Now we have some other listeners and we have a whole community that way, a whole world we're starting to build, and it's kind of evolved into something else. But ultimately, I get it if it's not for you. There's 50 million podcasts out there. Right. You can find one for you. And I guess that's what maybe Nabies or Jan started to find some that piqued his interest. And then here one summer day, like must have been, no, not, it would have been like a February because I started my podcast in March, I believe. He sends me an audio file. And him and his son just got a new laptop and they decided to record like a 5-minute podcast. And I was like, well, what did you do? What did you do? My friend that doesn't even listen. And it just like fire was lit, like not even an ember. It was like, oh my, here's a guy that doesn't even listen to podcasts. He didn't start a podcast, but he at least attempted and recorded it and did it. And I was like, if he can do the dang thing, I can do it, right. And that just, and really with my brain and my ADD, it really does help for me to like have a short-term goal or like something to focus on. And that's what it became right then, a year and a half ago or whatever it's been. It was like, all right, Baby Fat, we got a podcast. In my memory, I could be misconstruing a few things. He could have sent me that audio file and then I was pissed off and went to go work out and I'm on the treadmill and I'm like, okay, now I got a name for Baby Fat. It could have worked out that way, but that's kind of the culmination of how it started. But really it started 15 years ago when I was thinking, man, I could do this. Yeah. I should do this.
Well, I love the way you explained that because that was kind of, in my head how I thought you were thinking. Because you got to check him out. He's on, all the platforms. You just search Baby Fat. But to me, it's like this introspective thing with yourself where like I'm listening to you a lot of times talking to yourself. Absolutely. I mean, you're talking to us, your listeners, but there are times you're really talking to yourself and your family and specific family members, and it's just been really cool. Like I don't know, like he said, I don't watch TV. I don't follow a lot of the famous
aside from sports. Like sports is about it,
But you buy into characters and like that's something that I've really listened to yours specifically and think, I got to hear more of this. I want
See,
to hear more of the story.
and you put that into a good perspective as we're messaging back and forth about doing this, and just we talk about each other's podcasts, building each other up on hey, I loved hearing this, loved what you did there, and the way you put that, it sounded like a conversation with myself, because several people have gone and been like, yeah, it sounds like I just catch up with you every week, like we have a conversation, but it's really more what you said. It's me having a conversation. It's total introspection, and so I get if it's not for you, because I make it about me, but being a podcast head, they are. You world build, you build these characters, and that's what I've tried to do with my family, or the Power Five, or I have the Bros on, things like that, and it just becomes a TV show in your head, essentially.
Well, it's been fun too because you'll reference people not by their real names,
Yeah,
but by some name, and then eventually I figure out who that person
yeah,
is. I was like, I know that guy.
and that's part of the fun. And with the internet being such a cruel place, like you know, you've experienced hate online. Nobody likes it. It's like, I'm not trying to dox any of the people that I love and care about. I have unintentionally already through the podcast, but if I can come up with some little nickname that makes it fun for the world building too. Yeah, it's just it brings people back.
So I got to ask, when you start this podcast and
Mhm.
you talk about everything, and I mean, I don't act like I know every single thing about you, but it's not like you hide much
Yeah,
on the podcast. Are they nervous? Like each episode, is the family like, oh boy, what's he gonna
yeah.
say?
Like right now, I mean, there's like several things always going on in everybody's family, but there's like things that I could talk about that are personal. And like you said, I don't really hide things. That's because I don't know. Here I'm thinking in my head, is like, am I a good liar? I'm like, I don't think I'm a good liar. I think that the disingenuous, whatever the audience would read me lying or making up stuff as real disingenuous. Like, and so the easiest way for me to circumvent that is just to be real, is just to share my experience. Now, I'll, of course, always, just like I was there, self-editing, trying to produce and keep things whatever, but there's things I want to talk about now. It's just not the right time. It's too personal. It's too the issue right now, and then maybe I'm just in the middle of dealing with it. But yeah, I know my family's going to listen to this, or I know this certain person's going to listen to it. It's That's part of it. It's part of the battle. But yeah, I'm not trying to pull any punches, or put on this facade, because it wouldn't have made it 10 episodes if I was doing that. You know,
Yeah, you can't force it,
no,
and people don't want to watch.
no, and that
They pick up on it quick.
absolutely. And the people that I love and follow and get into, and like I say many times on my podcast, just like you said, you checked in with me and here I was 50 episodes deep. That's the nature of podcasts. Like, you're going to have your favorite ones that every upload, you're going to hit them, and even those ones could fall by the wayside in a year or two, because people change, you change, they change, like. But it's also one of those things where it's been like, oh, I haven't checked in on Uncle Joey for a while, and then now I have this catalog that I get to catch back up on, and now all of a sudden Uncle Joey's back in the rotation heavy. Just that's the nature of the beast.
Well, and I mean, anyone who's thinking about starting a podcast or just being active on social media, like sometimes you pour your heart into something, an episode, an edit, you just spend a lot of time on something,
Yeah,
and you put it out there thinking, this is it. This is going to be the
yeah,
one. I'm going to get 200, 300 likes. This is awesome,
yeah,
and it just flops. And as you get like 10 likes or something, and then the one that you like you just
yeah,
recorded randomly, you're
yeah,
just like spieling and reeling, and it's like, why do people want to hear that versus
yeah.
what I spent so much time on?
You nailed it. I mean, it's like you really are putting yourself out there. That's something I had to do personally, because I was getting into this depressive hole of nobody likes me anymore. I'm getting old. I don't have any friends, and that couldn't be farther from the truth. Once I started the podcast, it was me. It was me being reserved. It was me being too caught up in my own life, as people do as they grow up. As soon as I started putting myself back out there, all these people from my past, it came out of the woodwork, and they were still there all along. It was just me not recognizing that.
So, I mean, we could go on a deep dive here, but let's touch on that because I have experienced that myself firsthand. Where as you get older, those friends that you've been so close with in life, everyone gets their own life, and
Yeah.
you go away from each other. And it's not that you guys aren't still friends, you don't care for each
Right.
other. It just life doesn't work that way. You don't have time.
It
Anytime
happens fast
you have to
too.
invest in something, you're taking away from something. A
Yeah.
lot of times that's your friends. So as those people go, you do it is a you can kind of get depressed. You feel like I don't have anybody to talk to.
Yeah.
And you can't dump everything into your partner. You can't dump everything into like family members. Um, so it is weird going through that phase where it's like I'm kind of depressed because I feel like I don't have anybody.
Yeah, I think it's really hard for men, especially, I mean,
Yeah.
like females do it, and maybe I'm generalizing here, but in my experience, women are way better at keeping the band together and planning event. That's probably what it comes down to is event planning. Me and my homies are just so bad
Okay.
at planning an event that yeah, you go a year unless it's a fantasy football draft that you have to do
Hmm.
where you meet up and get to see each other. But yeah, I think for men especially, it's just for one, you have a lot of pressures in the world, and you if you're raising a family like I am, you got a heavy load, and you got a lot of people you got to show up for, and everything else, man, that's going to be on the back burner.
It it's so weird how as men you just don't want to hear someone say, "Oh, suck it up, you're just being a little
Yeah,
bitch."
right.
And I mean that's what you're going to hear. And to a certain degree, I believe that myself though.
Yeah, like internally, that's what I'm saying to myself
Yeah.
the whole time. Like, get up or quit being, or like I'm really so hard on myself that I don't want to externalize it to somebody else because I already got enough of that,
Hmm.
that hardness on me. And then also like I got enough of my own BS. I'm not trying to pile that onto you either. I think that's
Right.
a lot of a lot of people's mentality. I'm saying men and women, but it's a lot of people's mentality.
Yeah.
We all got a lot of stuff going on. And as you said on last episode in your intro, it's a great outlet.
Yeah.
And I thought I wanted to start a podcast for I've always been a ham. Where's my camera? I've first, if you ask me what I wanted to be when I grow up, it was an actor. I wanted to be rich and famous. Now I know I just want to be rich. It just took me 36 years to kind of figure that out.
Hmm.
But and now just talking about that, I forgot where I was going with it. That happens a lot with me and podcasts. It's so easy to get down this avenue. You want to talk about this and touch about that, and I'll have something really important that I started to say, and I won't get to it until 3 episodes because it's just
Yeah.
you just get to going.
Well, so we can get back to the mental health in a minute, but you do always have like this like outline in your mind of how you're going to approach an episode. But as you start to talk, sometimes you can't even control yourself
Yeah.
or your guests when you have guests on. Like you just go off on this little side road.
Oh, you can't
And
control
it's
me,
like,
buddy.
how do we get back over
Yeah.
here?
Oh, it that's tough. Luckily, well, with the video, that's what's really nerve wracking about the video is you could see the hard edits. I can sneak in. I call them my magic pauses because sometimes you just get deer in the headlights. I'm Ricky Bobby. I don't know what to do with my hands type moments, and you're just like, all right, pause, and you can go back on the audio and sync it up to right where
Right.
where you're talking, or just right there where I lost my train of thought. I can pause it and go back 10 seconds. Oh, that's what I was talking about, and I can continue it on seamlessly. So there's
Mhm.
things I can hide like that. This video podcasting game, it's a different beast, and
Yeah, because
it's
people
nerve
they're
wracking.
gonna see when you mess up.
Yeah,
But again, I think that's all part of keeping it like real.
yeah, yeah.
Have people approve.
Appreciate just that. The
Good
flubs.
Lord,
They love the
yes,
flubs.
appreciate the honest and real. But just to kind of, and I didn't intend to go down a mental health thing with you, but it's kind of interesting that we are doing similar things and we had similar thoughts. The podcasting has been a big help for that.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, and you said it was a good outlet, and that's what I learned. I thought, here now it's coming back to me. I thought I just wanted to feed my ego. I thought, oh, I want to put myself out there. I want to get the likes. I want to get the
Mhm.
clicks. Turns out that's not at all what I like doing about it. Turns out it's my form of therapy, and it's free. I just go to my Go Rage. I go to the garage. I flip on a couple of things and I turn the mic on. And then we were talking about earlier. It seems like you're almost hiding behind that mic, and it's just you, and it's real. You just get put in this different space, and then it's very. I think it's been proven. I don't know. I'm not smart, but I think it's been proven when you talk about these things or offload them or whatever. That's got to be beneficial.
Yeah, and same thing for me. Like I, there's something in my brain that like it just won't shut off.
Yeah.
My wife can tell you all about it. It's like I just can't stop. The wheels always spinning, and something that like I've always been really passionate about, and I don't understand why, is like I just want to help like any random thing, person that I can, and podcasting. Um, intentionally, when I did I can't freaking talk today. Originally, when I did the fitness one, all I wanted to do was help people. Like
Yeah.
I had gone through so much with fitness and so many failures. Let me just everything I learned here. There you
Yeah.
go. You can have it. And now I want to do the same thing, but for the community and like the people that are here. And I'm just so tired of negativity and they're just. I get pissed off when I'm on Facebook or on social media and people say things that they would never say to you face
Oh
to
yeah.
face. And I just wanted to, you know what? I know way more cool things about this place. I know way more wonderful places. Let's get them all, one episode at a time and let's talk about them. So that's helped me.
Man, and I love it. It's yeah, when I do think of you, you've always just been a helpful person, not only like professionally helping me along in my career. That's been you outside of work always. You're in some you're involved in some activity, either coaching your kids or a community program. And then here I'm sitting here getting my hair cut. I had to be fresh for the camera the other day, and I was like, I would have waited probably another couple weeks, but I'm getting ready to go do my friend's podcast. That everybody's, oh
Mm,
wow, you're famous, stuff
yeah,
like that. That's the
you
added,
are.
the vibe that changes the room. And I was like, they're like, what's it called? I'm like, it's called That Stuff Matters. Shout out.
Mhm.
Go look it up. It's great. And they're like, then you have to kind of tell them, what it's about. And then it hit me. I was like, here Nathan is. And this is how I described you. I was like, he's like a pillar of his community and he is spotlighting other people. So you shake your head, but you really are. I mean, you got Stuffle Bean Park right over here. You're in Quarterback
I didn't
Club,
name it that.
Uptown. I
I did
mean,
not name it that.
and that's the thing about people that are actually making a difference and the humbleness that you have. That's why what I'm saying I believe to be true is you are a pillar of this community, and now you're spotlighting other pillars. And then it got me in the barber chair, and I'm like, no idea why he's having me on because I don't fit that category, which I get. You're exposing all types of characters and people,
Yeah.
and I'm from this community too. Uh, but I'm honored to just to be within these first 10 episodes, especially with the people you've already had on. It's like
Well,
you are doing some good out there, man. That's awesome.
and I think sometimes, and I think it's important that anyone watching this is you might have an idea in your head
Mm-hmm.
that you think isn't really necessarily going to help anyone specifically.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can hear you just ramble
Mm-hmm.
about your life and your struggles, and then I'm, relating it to things in my life, you can help someone and not even
Sure.
it's not your intention.
Yeah, I've gotten several thank yous so far in this podcast journey for helping or inspiring or this that and the third. And it's like wasn't my intention, but what a beautiful byproduct. That
Yeah.
to be able to do something and to have and if that's what comes from this, you have a great big audience already. This thing's a rocket ship, man. I can't wait to see it really explode. If I get one of those people that tune into you and maybe down the road 6 months, they're like, dang, listen to this fool ramble helped me do this or that, or I learned I don't want to be like that. So I'm gonna go this way. If there's one person, I mean, like, that's great. That's
Oh
a win.
no, it's just always been. I think sometimes your problems are so close to you, and you like try to guard them
Hmm.
and hold them off. When you hear other people that are just open about some of the things they're dealing with, you can be like, "Oh man,
Yeah,
I'm not the only one."
right.
All of a sudden, I don't feel so bad.
I think I've helped people in that avenue for sure. Just letting because it's I call it my A material. All my good stories probably started with a mistake or me being a knucklehead somewhere along the
Yeah,
line.
and in no way is your podcast just that, but that
No.
is something that you do, and that can help people. And I've always been told, like, if we all threw all of our problems in a bucket
Mhm.
and we were looking in there, we're probably going to pull out our same problems
Oh, I like that. I don't think I've ever heard that.
because um, usually once you see what everybody else is dealing with, you're like, you know what, I can handle this. I know how to do this, and then you
Yeah.
have a little bit of mental fortitude to go forward. Um, I don't know.
And I've captured that in the past year of recording. I started off hot and heavy on this manic wave of getting stuff done, starting a podcast, jumping back into working out. And then a few months later, I saw myself getting on there every week going, "Oh, I'm going to start working back out. Man, I need to really get back on it." And I got to catalog my personal depression or the ups and downs, but it also helped me recognize it in real time. Instead of sitting there for another 2-year period of just being down, it was like, okay, I can see that I'm down, but I also know, and then now going back up, I know I can crawl back out of that hole
Yeah.
and not let it fester, not let it turn into something way worse.
Do you also find it like a source of accountability to where
Oh, there's something you said a minute ago with these stupid little videos. Like probably maybe not my last workout. I did my cardio yesterday and mowed the lawn, which actually burns a decent amount of calories for me. So I like that workout day. But I love when I get the full thing in of doing my lift and doing my cardio. Then I feel like really accomplished. The monkey's off my back. Um, Dang it, forgot what I was going to say to that effect.
holding accountability?
Yeah, the accountability with the video. So I probably would the past 2 workouts I probably wouldn't have done, but it was like, man, now I have an audience looking at me, you know, YK, filming these videos. And if they don't start seeing some results, man, that's my accountability. Now I have it on Front Street. Everybody can see it. So it's like I can't afford to take off 2 days in a row now because I just got to keep the ball rolling.
Well, I would say I use that in like multiple facets of my life,
Mhm.
but with the fitness thing, I went through a period where I was like very active on Instagram and Facebook and posting about fitness
Yeah.
content. Part of the reason for that was because, if you don't have like a coach necessarily that you're like having to answer to every week, if you put it out there in the world and everybody's watching,
Yeah.
they're going to see you win or fail. I mean, whatever you do. And then I would have to show up for that next
Yeah,
workout
that's
or the
exactly
next one.
exactly how I'm feeling now. Now that I've started to, well, not only my listeners know because it's the program. I talk about maybe what I did that day, or maybe I'm not working out and I'm trying to get out of the funk and trying to inspire myself to get out of there. It's the accountability is huge. I mean, and it's in everything that you do. You know,
Yeah.
it really when I am on top of my stuff, I'm on top of my stuff like on all facets of my life. But it really does start with those small decisions in the day of, am I going to sit here and just be a lazy POS, or am I going to get something done today?
So, would you say that fitness is like really important to you?
It, like yes, but it's honestly the byproducts. Not only like feeling good in my clothes or to feeling good in my own skin, the mental clarity. Like that's the huge thing. I'm chasing those endorphins now. I know when I'm getting real pent up or just just being mean around my house, a workout will change that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, and I was hoping you were going to go that direction because I wanted to, drop that tidbit to any listener who's struggling with fitness. When your mindset shifts from it being this goal of how you look in the mirror
Hmm.
or a number on a scale, when it shifts from that to the benefits you're getting from doing that work, from doing something hard and overcoming it,
Right.
from mentally, you're conquering things. When it switches to that focus, the things you wanted happen.
Yeah.
And it isn't until then that you can build the consistency that's required. If you're only trying to obtain like a look in a mirror or a number on a scale, you're going to give up because
It's
those
just
things
like
don't happen fast
podcasting.
enough.
If you were just trying to make money or trying to get notoriety, probably can only record 10 episodes and be out the door. It'll be extinct like all the other ones. You have to have that passion for it. And yeah, I guess the passion comes for the mental clarity that I get from it, but then also you do want to start to see some results because that's like, oh,
Right.
I'm going somewhere. And then that'll fire you up for the next 6 weeks or whatever you're working on.
Yeah. And it's like set different goals. Like instead of, oh, I got to get to this number on the scale, or why do I still see this in the mirror? Okay, today I want to do this many push-ups, or I want
Hmm.
to do this many squats, or I'm going to do this with this form that I've never done before. And then all of a sudden, those things start to reap benefits in the things you were looking for,
Yeah.
and it becomes more motivating and more fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. Fitness is a pain in the neck, but it's
It is. I
pretty
mean,
awesome.
I grew up. Well, I mean, you see me right there. That was probably the first sport that I ever did. No, it is. I'm saying like I don't know baseball. I moved from Southern California where I was an apartment kid and didn't go outside to play much because there was a threat of just getting kidnapped or ending up in a gang, basically. And so when my mom made some life changes, she decided to move us to Missouri in 1998, and I was 8 years old. So this was third grade, like a few days before the fourth quarter started in third grade. I moved to Marceline, and culture shock,
Mm.
complete culture shock. But personally, a lot of times I think about how my life would have ended up if we never moved from California. I'd be a completely different person. But of course, obviously.
Mhm.
But this kid right here, he really needed Missouri, and it was for sports. Like I don't think I would have been involved in sports or athletic or just extracurricular activities like I was able to in a small town, just simply out of probably the money involved in California. You're talking everything's all private and travel, and the money would have eliminated me from there. But just the in a small town, and when I was growing up, you had to do it all. You had to play all the sports. You also had to be good in school. You had to check all the boxes. Otherwise, you're going to be ostracized for this, that, and the other. So that became important to me. And baseball, this was my first outlet here. And look at me. I don't even fit in the T-shirt that they provided all the other kids. I had to wear, and that's not my shirt. That's somebody's dad's shirt that they're like, that would be the closest to, I guess you would look like you're kind of on our team. It's not black and gold, but it's white and black. And you see my beat up glove, probably third hand at that point. But starting there, the love of sports, love of team, like that camaraderie kept me going. And before I know it, I'm moving from being a baby fat first baseman and lineman. Now they're letting me play tight end in middle school.
Mhm.
Now I'm getting a little bit of the glory. Now I'm getting to catch the ball. Now it becomes really fun. And then you start moving the goalposts. You're like, all right, now I want to get good at this. Now fitness does become a little bit more important to me. It's not just the social aspect of it. Actually, hey, I got a little natural talent at this. This is fun.
Wow.
That's where my fitness journey really started. Was like right
Yeah,
there.
it's kind of. I mean, I've probably seen that picture 1,000 times,
Right.
but I've noticed the shirt, but I never really paid attention to. Yeah, that is a team photo,
Yeah.
and it's so weird that like because I have the same photos for me
Yeah.
that means so much to you.
Yeah.
Like this is just a photo to somebody,
Yeah.
but this tells a
It
whole story to
it's
you.
everything. It's my origin story right there, and just that one. That's why when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, that would really be perfect for the cover photo." And I have a couple other ones that I'll use eventually. There's this perfect one where I'm in my Boy Scout, Cub Scout shirt and like
Mhm.
long jean jorts. And I'm just like, I just got this big cheese on my face. I think I got like some orange highlights from back in the day, and that's what you would do. And it just looked like, and I had some like Nike Pegasus on, like I looked like I was about to steal your dad's barbecue and mow your lawn. It's just an hilarious. I've always been like bigger as far as like in my grade. I might have been
Mhm.
like second tallest, always one of the bigger boys. I remember showing up to soccer games. One of the one of the ways I was introduced to people from Brookfield is I played on the Storm, which was a traveling soccer team from my seventh to eighth grade summer, something like that. And he had a bunch of kids from Brookfield and me on this team. And I hit puberty way quicker than everybody
Mhm.
else. I've had this body since seventh grade, which was great for sports. I mean, I had man legs. I was like the fastest kid in my grade in seventh grade, and I'm like, probably the heaviest kid at the same time.
Just because you matured quick.
Just because I matured, which of course helped in sports, but also crafted that love because it was like, oh, I'm good at this. Then everybody catches up to me, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh no, I'm very average. That's all. But where was I going with that? Dang it, you have to keep reminding me. I'll lose track so often, so
No,
easy.
you're going right down the right track. This is the things I was going to ask you. It's about being athletic as a kid.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, I was saying the Storm. So Jeff Wolf,
uh-huh.
how to Brookfield, ha- was the coach of the Storm, and I remember showing up to games, and dads would be like, "I saw him drive here. He's not 14." And I rode with the coach because my mom, she's busy working two jobs, had other kids. Like if
Mhm.
I wanted to play a sport, for one, somebody's parents were going to have to give me a ride, and it had to cost no money. And so had yeah, that was the thing. I've always been on. I was trying to say I was always been on the bigger side of things, and I would get accused. Like
That's funny.
I remember the one that he drove here. I
What
saw
movie
him.
is that? Is it the? It's a baseball movie where the guy's like drinking alcohol at a kid's game, and he writes "I am 12" on the birth
Oh,
certificate with a crayon.
is that yeah, like with Napoleon Dynamite and Nick Swartzen, and
Can't think
I
of it.
can't think either, man.
But you just
Yeah.
made me think of that. You walking up, just being 6 foot tall.
Yeah.
um, so how do you balance like? And this is a weird question, and I'll just be honest. So I asked Chat GPT to assist me with questions a lot of times. I use Chat GPT for everything.
Man, I'm about to pay for it. $20 a month is tough. Do you pay for it?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
because
about to break because the free one, it just jams you up. You get a couple questions like, "Oh, sorry, you've hit your limit." But the cool things that you're doing with the music, your thumbnails, you had to be
well, it's
paying for it.
almost like you get a personal assistant, and
Yeah,
if you just talk to it, and it's so weird, if you just talk to it like a real person,
yeah.
it just gives you like really insightful answers.
Oh, it's scary how much it knows you. This little Mossad agent that you're carrying around in your pocket,
Mhm.
it knows you inside and out. And like, yeah, when I first started asking questions about me, spot on.
So, okay, he had an episode where he talked about asking Chat GPT what is wrong with me.
Yeah, and that's again, none of this is original ideas. My entire podcast is just a regurgitation of other people's podcasts or things I've heard on a podcast. That's one of my nicknames on Doctor Podcast. I'm a master regurgitator. Pause. But it's like nothing's original. So I don't want you to think I thought of this. I was listening to a podcast
Yeah.
that day coming home from hunting and they did it. And I was like, oh, I got to do it. I got to know what it.
Uh, I mean, I did it
And
like
what
that
was
day.
it?
I
Ask
listened.
what's wrong with me or what was the direct question?
Yeah. Now, keep in mind, you have to have kind of been using Chat GPT for a while. It has to have picked up on your characteristics and
Yeah.
things that you do and say. And but
I'm
it just
curious though. I'm curious that if you just out the box downloaded ChatGPT and asked that same question, I bet there's enough data out there and they farm it from other places that they probably already had those
probably
answers. I'm not sure, but
could be, but it was spot on
I
his.
mean, I mean, yeah, scary. Now it started to kind of repeat itself because I went
Yeah.
down to like 100, 120 or whatever it was, but every one of them was true.
And like the cool thing, maybe not cool thing, was you can just say, okay, now go even harder or
Yeah, it will
go
ask
even
you too.
deeper.
It will ask you, "Do you want me to cut deeper?"
Yeah.
Like, "Yeah, give it all."
And I mean, it really did make me evaluate some things, and it confirmed some of the things I was thinking. And anyway, this question, because to me, when I listen to your podcast, I think this is part of it. Is like you're balancing like self improvement with self acceptance,
Yeah.
and like, do those things tie into each other? Or
I don't know if I've ever thought about it from that perspective, but that's absolutely what it is. It's knowing that you can shoot for the stars, but like it's okay if you don't make it.
mm-hmm.
You know, it's of course, do your best, try your hardest, uh, but nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
You know, I just said I thought I was a star athlete. Then Luke Lambert and Brent Paler humbled me pretty early in middle school. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm mediocre at this. And you just go, okay, but
The,
I want to accomplish this, you know?
those guys were kind of freaks, though.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
That
Still
Luke
to
was
this
on that
day.
storm team. He didn't get accused of driving there, but I did. And we were the same size. What the heck?
Oh, but yeah, when I just listen to you talk, it's like you're talking about fitness and things in your life, but then like as you go down these side roads, we've been talking, I can almost hear you like contemplating with yourself, like, is this okay? Am I all right?
It goes back to being real because I don't want to put something out there like I'm glorifying this or I'm going to do that if realistically it's not in the cards. You know, that
Mm-hmm.
when you say that, that's what it reminds me is I'm always having to temper myself and my expectations because hey, this is going out to the world. You know, there's no fooling
Yeah,
anybody.
and it will last forever. I
Yeah,
mean,
that and that's the hope.
that
I hope that my kids someday get to go back and see the intricacies of what made their dad.
yeah, I've thought about that a lot too. Like someday when I'm gone, because you never know when that's going to be.
Yeah, and I love that I already have a 78 episode record. Heaven forbid I get hit by a bus when I step out here, you know?
Yeah, I've thought about that. Like, I've slowly been building like a Spotify playlist. Like, if
Mhm.
something happens to me, here, go listen to this. This is stuff that I would listen to, and like,
That's cool. I'm
you
gonna let
kind
him
of
know.
get like this insight into my mind.
I have a playlist. I need to make it public like that to them.
Well, I think, like, and I don't know why, but like sometimes it haunts me. Like, what's your legacy gonna be? Like,
Mhm.
did you leave behind information that like pointed people in the right direction? They know
Bro,
about you.
a guy like you's thinking about that? What do you me, here you got, oh my goodness, it's like I just hope to have one of those lanes or one of those things figured out the way that you do already. So man, I think you're cementing
No,
a legacy around here.
no. I
But
honestly, I have
if you didn't think
nothing
like
good.
that, none of that would what I'm referring to wouldn't be there. You have to keep thinking. You got to stay hungry. In
Well,
almost everything.
God, I preach to my kids all the time about things, and then I'm constantly like sitting back thinking, now I have to change the way I'm doing something
Yeah,
because otherwise I look like a just
hypocrite.
yeah, a
Yeah,
big fake.
and they'll tell you right away. They're always, "Daddy, you're not supposed to," and it's like, "Yeah, you're right. Dang it."
You know, so in my past, like I've like tried to help people and tried to do good, but you don't always win. You fail a lot in life. And again, I didn't plan on talking about this, but like at one point I had someone who they didn't know what I had going on in my life at the time, and there were several things that I was dealing with, um, and I was mentally struggling,
Yeah,
you know. But from an outside appearance, I was really trying to be like, hey, helpful, come on, you guys
yeah.
can do it. Let's build you up. And I think people don't realize you can be really struggling and still trying to put on this persona that you're helping people because that helps you
I
give back. And they told me that I was a fake. I didn't live up to everything that I was preaching. And I think it just hit me, just stuck with me.
that's
And
terrible. I mean, that's terrible.
but
Sometimes you got to fake it to make it. And
well,
look at these really sorry to go down this dark hole, but like Robin Williams or these really outwardly happy people sometimes are the most
you never
sad.
know.
That's sometimes a cover for that. So like check on those people.
Yeah.
And it's you get this unnecessary hate that I've seen professionally for one, and then now personally a little bit as you started this that like these keyboard warriors for some reason I
Yeah.
don't know I
Well,
don't know what it is that like they're not afraid to just tell you tell you their opinion right off the bat, about certain things that
yeah.
and it's just like where do you get off from an outside perspective look at watching these comments and these people, but it's just a sense of entitlement. I don't know what it is, man, but I don't get it.
Yeah. I think it's another reason I like listening to your podcast. It's like this as you're talking to us and yourself, I'm doing the same thing. I'm just like,
Yeah.
man, I gotta live up to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But anyway, so if we're kind of talking about fitness here to kind of wrap it up, what are your favorite things in the gym? Like, what's your favorite lift?
Yeah, that changes. And I'm just trying to play a trick on my mind. It's what I don't want to do. That's
Okay,
got to be my new favorite.
love it.
So when I first got back on the horse, like 5 years ago, it was squats because I was always skipping leg day in the gym or just doing box squats, never getting down to a true squat.
Mm-hmm.
So then squats became my favorite. So now I'm looking forward to squat days. Let's just get better. That 1%, that every day. And then my easy lift was always deadlift. That was a good one for me. That just came naturally. I didn't have to work as hard. And now when I'm trying to make my new favorite is bench because my bench is just so incredibly weak.
You mentioned that.
I don't know if it's got to be technique. I don't know if it's these long monkey arms that I have. I don't know what it is, but I'm at that 225 and I just can't get it.
Well, here's bench tips. So anyone who is watching that's into bench press, what you need to do is unload the bar, take the bar, come down to your chest. Make sure that your joints are stacked, meaning that your wrist is
Yeah, I
directly
know
above
what
your
you mean there.
elbow
Yeah.
at this, where your elbow is kind of at a 45 degree. Everybody's a little bit different based on your levers, your length of your levers. but that's where you're going to be the strongest. Some people get too far inside.
Yeah.
Some people get too far outside.
I just do what I've been doing since high school,
Mhm.
and that's not the. I'm gonna go home and do that.
Yeah.
Actually,
And you do that, and then I would also tell everyone, you aim the bar a little lower. It should be below the nips.
that's probably where I'm going.
And then
But the heavier I get, the less control.
yeah, and it's such an aggravating lift.
Mhm.
It takes forever to build your bench up. You can squat quite a bit
Yeah, I see
naturally.
that increase pretty easily, but the bench just stagnates.
Deadlift will go way up.
Yes.
Bench, you got to be dedicated. And usually I would always recommend that people do 2 days a week. You have a lighter day that focuses on speed movement. So you're using a lighter weight, but you're building the technique to
Mhm.
move weights fast.
Mhm.
And then you have a day where you're focused more on strength, where the reps are lower and you're moving more weight, but your form may not be perfect.
Yeah.
The combination of those two things are going to help because power and speed or power and strength are different. Strength is how much weight can I move. Power is how fast can I move that weight.
The explosive part of it.
And you have to work on both if you really want your numbers to go up. And then, variation. There's a ton of variations to bench, whether you're doing close grip,
Mhm.
wide grip, there's different bars, there's different things you can do with dumbbell movements. But those variations are going to get you over plateaus that you're stuck in that
Yeah,
regular bench.
auxiliary lifts are what I'm trying to work on, chest auxiliary
Mhm.
lifts to build up those. And then I also started overloading on my first thing, just putting 315 on there and just getting my stabilizers
Yeah.
going. And so then when I put that on, then I try my next, it feels a little bit lighter, and
Mhm.
I just started doing that. But I'm definitely gonna go home and line up because I know I'm just going from the line and what I've always just done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Anyone who I've ever put on a bench and put the bar on their chest and they had to feel it. I don't know what that's doing, but they've had to feel that. I've ended up moving
Hmm.
their arms and their levers.
That's what I love about doing my stupid little videos and recording the lifts is I can see how horrible my technique is on some things. Because when it gets heavier on the
Yes.
bar, I've always struggled with this. As I go down, I'm pushing up, and my head wants to come up when it's heavy. And I know that's just going to
Mhm.
hurt my neck, hurt my shoulders, or something. So I'm really trying to focus on keeping my head down on
Yeah.
the bench. And
Well, and a cue for that is when you unrack that weight, your brain instantly freaks out.
yeah, that's what it is.
and
Absolutely.
and you have to, instead of thinking about lifting it off of your chest, think about driving down into the
Hmm.
bench, and that is going to actually help propel that speed off of the chest and get the weight up.
So these are things I have my group chat, the Power Five, or the Power Five when we're not at full capacity, that we help motivate each other and we check in, and Magic has done a really good job. He's told me both of
Mhm.
those things, and we had a meetup last year at the Brookfield Y for a form check, and just so we could all
Mhm.
lift
That's
together.
fun.
It was really fun.
Yeah.
And I've been told these things, but just need to hear it again
Yeah.
and learn it and take it.
And I don't know how much back work you do, but working that upper back.
I do the sled is my favorite back thing that I have on my Smith machine.
Yeah.
I love the rows.
And try to work rows at different angles, because if you build back thickness, it creates a better floor, a better shelf that you're actually pressing off of,
Yeah.
and your
No,
bench will go
he
up.
told me that before. Imagine that you're pushing, the shoulders through the bench. I need to focus on that technique, and
But
I could totally see that.
when you unrack the weight, man,
Yeah,
it
all that
freaks you
goes
out.
out the window. That's why the repetition, the muscle memory, and the practice. That's where it
And
comes in.
the holds that you're doing, those are actually really key. We always incorporate like slingshots and different devices to allow you to overload your bench press, because you always think about muscles when you're lifting, but you're actually training your central nervous system as well. So until you can unrack a weight and not be freaked out, you can't hold form
Yeah,
throughout that movement.
that central nervous part that you just said, mate. That's yeah,
Yeah.
that hits home. The
So
mind body connection is crazy that I've
oh
learned through
yeah.
lifting and trying to actually really do things right. That was the thing when I started over. It was like, here I've been cheating in high school weight rooms, not really doing. It's like I'm cheating myself now if I'm going to go out here and take away time from my family and actually like let's do it right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to focus on.
Oh, I forgot what I was going to say.
Sorry, mind body connection. When you said that, I was like, yeah, that's
Oh, exactly. So with the mind body connection, like a lot of times you try to explain that to somebody and they're like, what are you talking about?
yeah,
And until you lift for a little while and you start to feel muscles and how they engage, you don't understand what we're saying.
yeah,
But man, when you are holding a weight and you can just focus on
yeah.
one specific region, wherever that is, game changer.
Isolating your body and your mind on it is, yeah, it is.
What's your favorite like treat? The thing you shouldn't eat. Like
Right
what?
now, it's been donuts. I've been on a
Donuts.
heavy. I've always loved donuts. I mean, look at me. But I have been on a heavy chocolate donut with a maple glaze lately. Just go. I'm a big double chocolate donut guy as I've gotten older. I used to be like in California, the Long Johns aren't filled with Bavarian cream. Pause.
Mhm.
So that's what. Oh, I don't like the Bavarian cream. I was raised with donuts that are just, Dunkin' actually has them like that. So Casey's kind of ruined my, because I used to just like the maple bar.
Mhm.
Casey's kind of ruined that, and I got used to the cake donuts, or whatever. But I've just been on a big double chocolate or chocolate with maple frosting. But I mean, I don't have a sweet tooth. I have sweet teeth. So you have a dessert, I'm gonna do something to it.
Do you think that's where you struggle in fitness?
At night, that late night bowl of cereal or just late night eating. I like to. Um, it's easy to go to sleep when you feel full. So I really struggle with that late night bowl of cereal or just wanting that sweet treat at night. Um, where I really struggle is the diet. I out eat my workouts, but I can just do that with healthy food too. Just too much of it. I've always been an overeater.
I mean, food is a drug. That's
Yeah,
what I always have said.
yeah,
And you can be addicted to it just
yeah.
like a drug.
When I see people that like just aren't, I guess, naturally as hungry as me, or like my spouse, for instance, she'll just eat like a bird sometimes, and I'm like, how do you survive? Like,
Mhm.
but I mean, it's like obviously enough fuel, and she's not gaining weight at the the rate that I do ever, so she's doing it right. I'm the one that needs to make the correction. But
It's that is the tricky part to fitness is it is a game that's won in the kitchen.
really is,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, especially when you do see, like, the iWatch will keep track of your caloric burn. You're like, that's all it was. It was one donut.
Right. It's almost disheartening when you start to like,
Yeah,
oh God, I just ate that and that was 480 calories.
yeah.
Gosh.
And it sucks to always be thinking like that too. But for me, I have to, because I just get off the rails way too easy.
So where did you get the idea for each episode you're coming out with? You've got these little reels, little shorts on
Yeah.
YouTube that's like a little workout, and it's kind of fun to watch just the things you go through.
Well, that was just my program. It's usually what I'm running, what I'm doing that day as far as my workout. I always love to stretch. Knock on wood, I haven't dealt with an injury as I'm old and trying to lift heavy things. And I really attribute that to 20 minutes of stretching, at least before I touch a weight. Um, and so I film that, and then I'll film. I- And there's sometimes where I don't add a lift in, so it's not my entire workout because like, oh, my ego, I'll be like, get a bad angle. Oh, my gut's sticking out too much there. Oh, I don't
That's
want
a
to.
real thing.
So there's some workouts that's not the entirety. It's not everything I'm doing that day, believe me. But yeah, it's like, well, I'm doing it. Where it originated is I'm too afraid to do my original idea. I was just going to do a before and after picture, shirt off. Here's what I look like every day. Like you see the videos,
Yep.
and me with my shirt off. I'm like, oh no, I can't do, no, we're not going to do that. But I needed a way to advertise the podcast or
Yeah.
get it out there. And I was like, one day I filmed one of my, and now they've kind of, and I'm getting to that spot where it's like, man, it's so redundant. It's the same video, just a different whatever. But isn't that like all of those stupid little real videos? They're like
Yeah.
somebody finds an avenue, like sending glass bottles full of pretty liquid down staircases, and that's all their videos, or it's a marble race and that's all their videos, or it's a single mom cooking for 4 kids broke, this is my video. So like, this is my little niche. It's my stupid little workout. They're going to be pretty similar unless I go and travel and see and do something. Today I'm making one as I came in here. As I left my house, I buckled in this guy into my car, and I got the outside of your thing, and I'll do one on my walk out and turn that into a stupid little video. So they're not always the same, but I like that idea of that's the lane. That's what these videos are, because it's brain rot. All that other stuff that we click on all day, it's just brain rot videos.
Well, and so I'm a DJ and
Mhm.
I've done 1,000 weddings,
Mhm.
and I always try to remind myself, wow, this is something I'm very familiar with, and I do it all the
It's
time.
their one. Yeah.
It's their one. So it's the same thing with what you're posting. Like, you don't know who saw the last one
Yeah.
or who's going to see the next one.
Sure.
So while it's redundant to you, this one right here that felt like a waste of time might hit home with somebody.
And the hope is, oh, they liked one of these stupid ones, and they click and they go, oh, there's this whole cavalcade of this guy. Let me, give me the clicks. But oh, there's something you just said a minute ago that reminded me of something we were talking earlier, but already gone.
Yeah,
It happens.
it's way too easy. When
I
it's a
know.
podcast. So we've touched on the fitness aspect of it, but like I wanted to also just talk about podcast and starting that and how simple you can start a podcast. And I wanted to hear how you did it. When you've got the idea, episode 1,
Yeah.
what did you have to go buy to start?
I think, gosh, let me think about that. Did I buy a microphone first, or did I just record it from? Yeah, that's what I did first. I hit Reddit. I got the idea. I got the name. Neighbors sent me his little audio file from his computer. So I was like, at the very least, I could do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, let me see what the Redditors are saying, all the internet experts. And they put me on a couple pieces of product. Come to find out, I don't need some of them. But like the first one that I recorded was on a Zoom recorder, which is
okay.
like, I still have it, but I don't really need it. But it's a portable
Yep.
podcast studio, basically. So I recorded on that. And I plugged in, I ordered the mic. So I plugged into the mic too. And just put it on an SD card. At first, an audio test file. I think I still have it on my computer, and uploaded it to see how that went. And I was like, okay, here it was like an intro to what Babyfat was going to be in my mind at that time, maybe like a 7-minute video or something, or audio file. I uploaded that, seemed to work. And then I was like, all right, let's do it. And laid down an hour.
Yeah.
And then slowly but surely going back to Reddit and seeing like, okay, what's the next level of this? Oh, that's an audio interface. What's the cheapest entry level that's also a good product? Oh, Focusrite. Okay, let me try that. So I just trusted these forums and rolled the dice and ended up with my setup now.
Mine was much less than that. So I just had an iPhone and I literally bought these mics.
Yeah.
And they just plugged into the phone. As a DJ, I had all kinds of mixers, but I didn't get one out of a bag or nothing. So
It's
I
so
just
funny.
plugged that into the iPhone, recorded the audio with these, and I put it out there. And I was like, I don't know if that looks good or not, but I think that's important. Like if you have an idea, sometimes you just start with the bare minimum and just start doing it.
There's not this big, and I don't like highly produced podcasts. Like if you listen to one that's put out by a studio or like a radio station that's just now designed as a podcast, like I like the lo-fi, I like the realness to it. And I like I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say, but yeah, just there's no barrier to entry.
Yeah.
Anybody can start a podcast.
Well, because I started like just YouTubing. I was like, podcast starter setup. And it gets intimidating because by the time you buy microphones, mixers, lighting, video gear, I mean, you could spend thousands.
Yep.
And I know I've applied the same principles to other things in life too, where I just started doing. I didn't know what the hell I was doing or how I was doing it, but I just started doing it, and then you get better as you go.
Man, that's a great point. The podcast is maybe one of the things that I just started doing, but there's tons of things that I'm dragging my feet on that, I just need to do it.
Well, we're crippled. We're paralyzed by this thought that we're going to seem like we're not perfect or professionals when we start.
Yeah.
And you're missing out on the whole opportunity because that's the good stuff. The good stuff's the watching you learn and watching you get better and seeing how it improves.
And I tried to lean into that. I always say, oh, technical difficulties, I'm always struggling with something. And I tried to like capture that growing process. Like you listen to my first 4 episodes, episode 4 sounds like I'm underwater. And so I come back on 5 and I'm like, sorry, I recorded that. This happened, whatever. So I just tried to get in front of it by being like, I'm learning as I go.
Yeah.
You have to deal with that.
Even like last week. So there was 3 of us and I had Ian mic'd up. But dumb me, I had his mic plugged into the mixer and I had an effect on that I didn't even know I had somehow turned on. So his volume was all messed up. And I'm thinking, you can't really hear him as well, and it took me a bunch of time in editing and post trying to get his level to come up. But again, that's all part of learning.
Yep.
Now you know not to do
What a great co-host that guy is. Ian, I mean, he's always just such a character. Me and Ian had a chance to work together 15 years ago for the Living Well, and it was always a nice reprieve to get out of our business meeting or whatever. Ian was the guy that loaded up our trucks and he ran the warehouse there. And he's just so naturally funny, just one of those guys that just,
that.
he actually reminds me of Dr. Podcast, the Are You Garbage podcast. One of the co hosts there is Uncle Hank H. Foley. And him and Ian, man, they just really resemble
Yeah.
and remind me of each other.
It-
And I was just thinking, what a perfect co host for certain things that Nathan could do to have Ian in
Well,
here.
it's been funny because he was one of the first ones that's like, "Hey, I'd love to be on there."
Yeah.
And I didn't know what we wanted to talk about, and he really opened up. But since then, I think every podcast has mentioned him or he's been on.
Right.
And it's almost like this weird. What's that game you play with Kevin Bacon? Like 6 degrees.
Yeah, it's 6 degrees of Ian through him.
Yeah.
But it's your world building. Now Ian's part of this world.
Mhm.
He's part of that stuff matters.
Yeah. And now he's all these videos. He does these
Grass
great lines on
Yeah.
mowing any videos at all. But it's
because
always
of your
that stuff
podcast, I
matters.
discovered that.
Oh, yeah.
And I started watching his videos.
Yeah, so that's been cool to see. I don't know. It's interesting. Um, so more questions here. Okay. I wanted to, this is going to be one that I want to relate to too. So as you started doing these podcasts,
Mhm.
first you don't know who's going to listen. You don't know what to expect. Then people start to listen
Worst part.
and you start getting feedback or you see people in public. Do you, is it awkward for you sometimes when they come up? Do you feel vulnerable about it?
Yes. Like not I still can't handle it. Like I just got it, coworkers that listen to it, my family members that listen to it. Now it's like I have to edit myself even more, because and it used to be an outlet where I could go and I could complain about
Mhm.
those people or those instances. And it's like, oh, now they might hear that. So now I can't say that. So now it's cramping my baby fat. You know what I mean? But it's just terrifying because the way I put everything out there, now they know all my deepest, darkest secrets. They know I'm a fraud. They know I'm a liar, a stealer, and a cheat, whatever the case may be. And so, and then it's precious to me. It's also like mine, and and so as soon as somebody questions me, like, or will let me know, oh, I'm listening to your podcast, I like instantly clam up and I'm just like, oh my gosh, and
You
I,
better not say something.
it's not even that I'm defensive of it. I'm more just like embarrassed right away.
Really.
Really, it's just like, oh gosh, you heard my BS. You listen to that. I get embarrassed right away.
Yeah. I get the same way. Like people be like, "Oh, I listened to your episode today." I'm like, "Oh, thank you."
Yeah, like
But
I'm not a
I was
good
probably
gift
an idiot.
receiver, and it feels like every time somebody says, "Oh, I love your podcast," or "Listen to your podcast," I'm just like, again, I don't know what to do with my hands. Every time.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's funny. Okay. So, how important is like for you on your podcast introducing like bits of humor? Like, do you feel
Well,
does it come out naturally, or do you feel like you have to?
yeah, I again not trying to force it. I'm just a ham. I'm a hack. I love comedy. Like that's the driving force for my podcast listenership is
As I said,
comedy.
most of the podcasts you talk
Yeah.
about are comedians.
I get into these podcast comedy scenes. First, I started on the West Coast, was not involved, but invested in the West Coast podcast comedy scene. Just such a podcast nerd. Uh, at the golden age when the Comedy Store was booming, and I was working in California, going out there once a month, so I would get to go to the Comedy Store and catch a $20 comedy show that just had these guys that you pay $100 ticket to on the weekend, and they're all on one show. So I was just spoiled comedically in this little golden age of the Comedy Store, and then that kind of fizzled out, just like podcast. Just like I've had people in my audience, they get tired of me and they're like, or maybe they find out the real me and they're like, I actually don't like him. And, that's fine too. And I've done that with certain podcasts and certain comedians. And then it led me to, oh, New York's the real scene. There's the people that I relate to. And then that fizzled down into Philadelphia for some reason. Philadelphia was this hotbed of these comics and these podcasts that I just fell in love with. And it started with one of the biggest ones now, Matt and Shane. Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast. I really didn't get on the Shane train until like 2018 or 19, really when he got canceled. Then I was like, who's this guy that they're even making a fuss with? Nobody even watches SNL anymore. Who cares if he said that? And then I would notice his appearance on these other podcasts. And I'm like, this guy is so funny. What the heck? I mean, SNL really dropped the ball. And I found myself in his podcast. And then now he's got guests on that are even funnier in different aspects to me. And I'm like, oh, let me check out their stuff. And, you know,
Just
it just keeps going.
rolling from
Yeah.
there. Huh. I don't know. It's unique when I listen because I can pick up on like comedians that like you're obviously listening to, that kind of comes through, and you do introduce some bits of humor. So it's
Oh yeah,
fun.
that's what. Yeah, it's try to be funny. Like, yeah, that would be great. You know, if I could, because I know I listen to these guys that are actually funny and entertaining, and
Mhm.
like get an hour of my time, and it's like, man, this horse crap that I'm putting out here, it pales in comparison to actually somebody that is entertaining and funny.
But do you feel like if podcasting was what you did, and maybe you were a comedian too, but
Yeah.
like, would you approach it differently? Would you speak differently? Would you be even more open than you are?
Yeah, I would say much more foul things because I like dirty comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was close to it. Before I met my spouse, and I had four more kids, you know, father of five, my oldest and her mother, we separated, got divorced, and I was really at a turning point. And at this point, she had custody, and I was only getting, you know, weekends and visitation, and luckily now I have all my kids under my roof. That's just such a blessing as a father to, you know, I feel for anybody that has to go through that because that's such a tough thing. But long story boring, I was at a point I was like, do I move out to California and go to the comedy store and start hanging out and trying to become a comedian? I have a passion for this. I love this. And really, comics will tell you it's a formula. You know, you figure out the science of what comedy is and you just have these ideas and you work them in this formulaic presentation that makes people laugh. And it's not like they're thinking it up on the spot. It's like, I can do that, you know,
Mhm.
or so I think. I think everybody thinks that they're funny and everybody thinks that they could do comedy too. That's also
Right.
a thing. So it's like, maybe I'm just that too.
Oh, I tell my kids every day that I'm the funniest person I've ever
Right.
met. You know, so
It was close to where maybe that was the path I was going to take. Now, life had a different, you know, idea for me, and I'm
Mhm.
so blessed to be where I'm at now. And hindsight, it's like, oh, really? I just needed to go to a room in my apartment back then, or now my garage, and just uh, let the
Let
world
it
know
out.
this is me. You know, I don't need all these other pathways or how other people did it. You know, my baby fat. This is it.
I love it. So let me ask you this: when you're talking on your podcast, like, do you envision like who your audience is? Like, do you think it's like dads or dad bods listening about working out? Is it people that are just listening to what Nate has done for the week? What do you think?
I don't think about I don't. That's interesting. I will now. You know, now that you said it, the
Now
next
I've
one I go to
introduced
record, I'll
it.
be like, wonder. I feel like usually the podcasts that I listen to, like, they'll tell you we have most 99% of our listeners are male. You know, male between 25 and 34 or something like that. You know, like that. But when I look at my analytics, it's pretty close to like 50-50. And I'm proud of that. That I have girls that are listening. You know, it's like I thought my whatever it is I'm putting out there would probably only stick to the wall with men that can relate. Turns out that's not the case. So I always think when I think about my audience, how fortunate I am to have like dang near 60-40 split, which I haven't heard of any other podcast that like, and all the ones that I do listen to and have listened to through the years, it's usually one side or the other. They're heavy female audience or heavy male audience.
Do you think that would shift if you got BBG on there?
I, I think that yeah, the male audience it would increase tenfold, especially with video podcasts. No, she's so shy. Did you hear? You could hear the shyness just in her high.
Yeah.
And I tried the next couple weeks. I'm like, come on, you've already broke the seal. Like, let's come on. I'll get her on there eventually. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I just want to
Yeah,
throw that in there.
BBG.
What's the most surprising feedback someone's given you? Like,
Really, you last week. That it was a conversation with myself. It just put it in a different perspective, and it kind of surprised me because it made sense that okay, somebody's listening to me talk. So yeah, it sounds like I'm in a conversation. And as the folks will see, and as you've experienced, I'm a pretty good one side conversation. I can talk over somebody, just talk the whole time too. So I was like, oh yeah, it makes sense that they think they're just talking to me. But when you put in perspective that it's, well, I knew it was really introspective for me, just the offloading, but I've figured things out in real time, just thinking it through and talking it through on the cast that
Mhm.
I don't know if I would have otherwise, or it would have been a much more difficult path to that solution.
Yeah, I really enjoyed too the episode with the brothers.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, we were supposed to have one today, but baby Jevin canceled.
Uh, but I think that was an interesting one to hear you guys talk through to each other, like how you felt in certain moments of your life. It was
We're so bad at communication in my family that we're all dealing with this pent up emotion and things that we haven't worked through or talked through, or so it's been very therapeutic for us. And then for my mom to listen and learn these certain things, and it could be difficult to hear it sometimes, and we're never trying to hurt anybody's feelings, but it's been very beneficial to us as a brotherhood to
I bet.
strengthen our bond, and
That's
it's
cool.
it's now it's ours too, that's what I mean. It's evolved into to much more than what I thought it was.
I'm I'm going in deep. I'm asking all these questions you
No.
probably didn't expect. Um, this is kind of a fun one though. Like, if you could have someone on your show, who would you like to see on Baby Fat someday?
Well, when I first started it, I was heavy into a rotation of this New York podcaster called Johnny Salami, the Johnny Salami Show. And for some reason, I got in my head, it was like, I've made it if I get Johnny Salami on here. And he's like still just he's like at our level, you know what I mean? He just might have a little bit bigger audience from the comedy junction there, but he's still like a no name in the space. But for some reason, I was like, man, it would be hilarious if Johnny Salami got on here. But as you ask that question now that he's just not heavy in my rotation, I'm still current on the show, but it's just you just shift, whatever that. When you ask me that now, I'm thinking Matt McCusker from Matt and Shane,
Ah,
just because he's original. He is unique as somebody who's a regurgitator and doesn't have all. When I listen to his stuff, it's just like, man, that brain thinks differently, and that I think it would just be really fun. And then the clout. I mean, I could say Shane and probably get the most views or whatever if I was thinking that, but I think for a fun conversation, Matt McCusker.
yeah, that'd be cool. Um, do you also introduce like music?
Hmm.
And that's played a big part in your life. So, what's your like, what's your go-to type of music genre for whether it be fitness or we're just trying to like listen to podcasts, whatever?
Alternative rock. I mean, again, ham. Anything I can sing to. I'm a mediocre singer, and so if I can carry that tune, it's more likely that I'll like that song. But as I've started to share music or incorporate it into different things I create, you definitely can't just have all just alternative rock. Or in my opinion, I love when it's really a poppy song, or if it's like hip hop, that I haven't thought about in many years. And I think we've all gone through phases of different music listenership, but I always fall back on alternative rock. I love my favorite band is Sublime. That was when I was in high school. We just wore those CDs out,
Yep.
and then from there, anything with a guitar and a clean voice. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just I would have guessed Sublime. I
yeah.
think probably from listening, but I wanted to ask that question.
And it's like a meme now. The guy that likes Sublime is ostracized and made fun of, but I'm pushing back on that. That's crap. There's so many people out there. You can't listen to the whole CD. For me, I can listen to the whole Sublime CD. So
Yeah.
kick rocks.
Uh, you've done so many episodes. Do you have one that's your favorite?
Oh, I was thinking about this isn't necessarily my favorite. We're talking about putting stuff out there that you thought people were going to really like, and then the it's underwhelming the response. And so I thought my favorite was going to be episode 10. And here I am, part of your first 10, which is such an honor. Thank you for having me. And on my 10th one, it was like a big deal. It's like, okay, double digits.
Mm-hmm.
We've made it. And so I had called Theo Vaughn's podcast 3 days after my second daughter was born, my second oldest. and I was just inspired. I was in between. I was going to get my spouse something to eat probably in that morning, so she didn't have to eat hospital food. And I just felt inspired to call Theo's hotline, which I have my own. I have the fat line. Hit it
Yes.
up, 816-459-0686. Give me a call. You'll make my podcast. If you want some podcast airtime, just call me. We'll get to it. And I stole that from Theo or from other podcasts that have these lines that you can just call and leave them a voicemail. And I was, not a new dad, but a new dad again, and just feeling myself. And I called and I was like, you know, just had a baby. I can't remember what I said, but I played the call on Theo's podcast, and he actually responded to it and played it on the show. And he even gave me
I
like
did
a
not know that.
it's episode 10. I know, it's like there was like nobody that was like, oh man, that was cool, when I really thought like, okay, I'm saving this one for, there's a little ace up my sleeve. This is going to get some feedback or whatever. And it's like, man, that one came and went and nobody even cared. But personally, I love that I incorporated something from my past, and you got to hear, here I've been calling in and listening to these shows for many years. And yeah, and his response to me was special. Talked about, he was excited for me bringing in a new baby girl, which stop the press. Shout out to my new nephew, Hudson Wayne, born yesterday at noon. I'm an uncle for the first time. Here, my brother.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Here are my brothers. I've been a dad for 15 years now. So my 3 brothers have been uncles forever. I'm finally Uncle Nate. I feel
Well,
like, so I'm
congratulations.
so I meant to be like, that's the first thing out of my mouth. Sorry, Patrick. I wanted to give Hudson his shout out right away, but yeah, it's yeah. Now I forgot where I was going with it, but
Well, just Theo's response to you and how that was.
yeah, it was. I thought
Personal.
people were going to be like clout, people were like, oh, you were on Theo's podcast back in the day, and it was like nobody cared.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I've definitely not done as many as you, but you do reach a point where it's like, I don't really know if I care how many likes I get
Yeah.
or what maybe the majority of people think. If I did what I intended to do to help one person, do I feel better about it? Does my brand even matter?
Yeah. And I get back to that too. It's hard not to think about the response and the reception. And then I have to, just like when I'm trying to get through a workout, it's like, quit it, stop. That's not what it's about. It's not what you're here for. And I'll remind myself, and I'll even say it in the microphone every a few episodes, like, this is not for you. I have to remind, this is for my kids and me on my deathbed. That's ultimately what I set out to do, which I stole that idea, from Out for Smokes. It was now a defunct podcast. That's the thing. If we just stick around and be consistent and not give up, that's a successful podcast.
Yeah.
Because they just go by the wayside so easily, because these co-hosts will get into a fight, or they can't, this, that, and the third.
And people don't realize how much time is required
Yeah.
to really do a podcast.
Yeah. It's like it's an hour podcast what I record, but it easily takes 2 hours just to do that. And then we're not talking about all your editing and video upload times. That's just with the audio only format. So it's only going to increase from there.
Yeah. You're getting close.
I know. Episode 100 is the goal. And
20 away.
episode 22 away.
22,
Don't do that to me. No. And I'm excited. And I hope to have it up, as we were talking today about different gear. I think I can probably accomplish it before episode 100. But I've been building up episode 100 because I have this really, it's my best story, I guess you'd say. It's one of my biggest life experiences, and I've been sitting on it, and I can't wait to share it with the fat babies.
Man, you're going to be there pretty quick.
I know. It's really sneaking
Well,
up.
think of like how
3 months, 4 months.
10's like a monument when you get to 10, but
Mhm.
the first, the next 10 probably flew by. So
yeah, that's
20.
and I had notes that I made for us today. Don't need them, but and that was one of the things, is like, it seemed like my episode 10 was just like a couple weeks ago, and that was over a year ago now. It's crazy. And so
Wow.
see, like, because I was thinking, I'm like, he's almost to episode 10. Where was I episode 10? It's like, man, that was just like, it feels like no time at all.
It's hard to develop consistency. Like,
Mhm.
okay, this has got to be done every week now. you
Yeah.
know, and otherwise you're just another quitter.
Well, and you'll see it in your numbers too. I noticed that if I skip out on a few weeks, then that listenership is not as heavy as soon as I upload, because I've gone down in people's rotation. And I've heard that from podcasters these 15 years that I've been heavily listening to them. Consistency. That's what they all say. just once a week try to upload at least once a week.
I mean, we've made it to the point of the show that I think everyone kind of looks forward to now. Started by my daughter Emerson.
Love it.
Okay, so say it with your chest. What is something that Nate is just 100% behind?
And so when you asked me to do the show, of course, I'm nervous. The video podcast, I don't have my magic pause, all this, and I'm like, it'll be fine though. It'll be with Nathan. I've been in high level job interviews where my career's on the line. Have you been a part of those? And I navigated that, so that can't be much harder than this. That's what I kept telling myself. But then the second thought was like, oh crap, what am I going to say with my chest? And you mentioned making a shirt with that, and I can't wait to cop that along with these Power Forward shorts that I got on. But I was like, what is it? And I've been thinking hard. Even on the treadmill, it didn't give me the answer. And there was one, and like everything, I just regurgitated other things in it. And then I watched the most recent episode with Eric, and he got quotes from movies that resonated with him. And I was like, oh, well, he can do it. I can do it too then.
Yeah.
Because the one
Anything
that
goes here.
kept sticking out to me was from, and that's basically my comedy is just ripoffs from early aughts comedy movies, Will Ferrell and this one in particular, Out Cold. I love this movie. And there's a point where Zach Galifianakis goes, no regrets. Well, I say regrets because in my group chat, for whatever reason, we just call regrets. And usually it's like right before we're about to eat some McDonald's or something like that. We're like regrets, because we're going to regret it later. So no regrets. That's my motto. That and everybody Wang Chung tonight.
Hey,
And I love that. And I actually sent that into, I used to be a heavy radio listener before I was a podcast, believe it or not, and I was listening to talk radio, and they ran a contest, and they're like, I need a new email signature. And it hit me. I was like, everybody Wang Chung tonight. And I called in, got on the line, and I was like, I think it should be, everybody Wang Chung tonight. And they loved it. And they sent me free tickets to fights in Kansas City. And I was like, so that one's kind of always stuck with me. But then there's more. I had to ask Chat GPT because I couldn't come up with anything original. Master Regurgitator. And I was like, man, I don't know if I can do the Out Cold thing. Let's see what Chat has to say. And there were several that I liked, but there was one that's just resonated with me right away. And it's kind of pertinent to everything that we're doing here. Make some noise. Whatever you're doing, go make some noise.
I like that.
I loved it.
That could be on the shirt.
I know. I loved it.
There's just so many directions you could go with that.
I know. I know. I loved it. But it's not mine. Not original. But
well, I know, but like you don't hear people say it a lot. But in life, just be willing to make some noise.
Yeah.
Not everybody's gonna like how it sounds.
It really fits for me and how I approach things and who I am.
Yeah. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Awesome. I did it.
Make some noise. Yeah, you're the winner.
I was so nervous for the whole video aspect of it, but definitely that last segment, it's like, man, got to leave them with something. What am I going to leave them with?
We got to have make some noise.
I love that. Love it.
So, Nate, what do you got? Anything you want to talk about coming up? Anything on the show? Life?
No, just shout out to my new nephew, Hudson. Listen to Babyfat. I try to stay consistent for you. And I tell my audience, hit the fat line, 816-459-0686. If you haven't seen an upload, get on me. Let me know. Hold me accountable.
I'll hold you accountable.
Because I need that.
Again, we talked about it earlier, but that's real. If you talk about it, you put it out there to the world,
yep,
you do kind of have to stick up to it.
Right. I mean, you feel that when you mention it to a friend group or you mention it to somebody, but now when you're putting it out into the ether, you don't know everybody that's heard that. So it's like, really keeps you on your toes.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you, not just for being on today.
Love
you
it.
drove an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, that means a lot. And like I said, you were someone who motivated me to start doing it,
That's
regardless
awesome,
of whether it was going to, because I just felt like it wasn't perfect. It wasn't good timing. It wasn't this. It wasn't that. And then I just was like, just listening. And I'm like, what am I waiting for?
I love to be if Nate can do it, I can do it. Ginser across the street will tell me if he's working out and recording a video, I can at least work out. I can at least. So I love being that and motivating just one person. It's like, man, job's done now. I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to
Yeah.
finish. But that's great because look at all the good you're doing. And that's one of my claim to fame. I'm the podcast tastemaker. So I do, accept my roses there. Thank you.
Yeah, well, you have some good recommendations, so I appreciate that you have recommended us
Yeah.
on your show. So make sure you check out Babyfat. Um, just there's a library of content there
Yep.
that you guys can listen to about Nate and his life.
You'll know it all.
So thanks so much, man. I appreciate
You're
it.
welcome, dude. I appreciate you having me again. First 10. What an honor.
We need the outro. I got to come up with an outro like you got.
I got so lucky, man. Well, not lucky. Well, lucky, yes. But again, I'm just following somebody else's format where they reached out to this one particular person that I was fortunate enough, Pepper Goins, who has his own podcast, History Buffs, has this niche where he creates podcast intro music for. It started with
I
the
was gonna
West Coast
ask you who
podcast
did
scene.
this.
So we just ended up Facebook friends because we followed all these same podcast scenes and comedians and different shows. And then they would mention Hot Peppers came up with this intro. And then in the next show, I would hear, oh, Pepper came up with this one too. And so when it came time for me to do my own, I'd been Facebook friends with him for a couple years. And I was like, let me reach out to Pepper and see what it costs.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's
$40.
That was it.
That's all. I mean, this guy, he deserves so much more, right?
It's so
$40. And it's better than my podcast. The intro music, and that's a lot of the feedback too. They're like, "Oh, I love the intro music so much," and it's like, I get it. It's so good.
So
Like,
he did the intro and the outro.
no, the outro came from my friend Billy Ty, who is a great friend, and he's such a talented musician. We sang in choir together growing up, and every time that we get together, the night ends up with him with his guitar out and us singing songs. That's like that's my happy place with my boys. And I was actually, even though we're close, I consider him a great, great friend. I was nervous to ask him for anything because I know he's got a lot going on, And so it was like, let me outsource this to somebody who I don't really know, like Pepper for the intro. And then I knew this other musician through my brother. And I was like, well, let me ask him because it's no skin off my back. I don't know. It's just low stakes for me to ask him. And for whatever reason, he said yes, but then it fell through. He didn't get it to me fast enough. And I think that Tyler had already started listening to the show and the conversation got brought up or something, but I just told him what I told you. I was like, man, I really would love if you did it, but I'm afraid to ask you because I know how busy you are. And, a few days later, he sent me the banger that is the Billy Tie.
Okay, because I was trying to
Is that the same
voice.
person? No.
Yeah, because I was like, I think I know that person.
Yeah, you do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I just that part's coming in your show at the end.
Yeah.
And then you hear it and it's like,
yeah,
come back.
with podcasts and the consistency, the bookends of a good intro and a good outro. Like there's podcasts that I'm into and might have stayed interested in them because I just love their intros or outros so much, and it's just because listening to a podcast, you can just do it in the back. You can do all this other stuff. It's like you don't really have to pay attention. It's just this low rent entertainment.
Right. That's where I listen to most of mine. I'm doing something.
Yeah, it's like I could listen to them over because you miss so much.
But I gotta have an outro.
Yeah.
All right, you left me with a task. I'm gonna come up with something.
I got to start paying for ChatGPT with all the neat things you can do with that.
All right, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, Dan.
That's it for today. That Stuff Matters. Make sure you check out Babyfat.
Come back.